Christmas dinner at home, my niece pointed at my daughter and said, "Grandma says you're the maid's kid." Everyone laughed. The sound didn't fade, it multiplied. Forks clinked, someone tried to cover a chuckle, and my mother's voice rose above it all like cheap perfume. Sweet, overwhelming, fake. "Children repeat what they hear," she said with that practiced smile. I stared at her across the table. Her pearls gleamed under the chandelier, and the red wine in her glass looked almost black. My daughter, Emma, sat beside me, her small fingers trembling in my palm. That's when I stood up. I didn't say a word. I just took Emma's hand, lifted her coat from the back of her chair, and walked out. The laughter followed me to the hallway like an echo I'd never forget. Outside the air was freezing, sharp, clean, honest. Emma's breath fogged the glass as she whispered, "Did I do something wrong, Mom?" I knelt beside her, my throat tight. "No, baby. You did everything right. Some people just forget what kindness sounds like." Back home, the Christmas tree lights flickered like they were struggling to stay alive. I unplugged them. Silence finally filled the room. My phone buzzed near midnight. A message from Dad. "Make sure you send the utility payment tomorrow." No apology. No acknowledgement. Just entitlement dressed as normalcy. I stared at the words for a long time. Then I typed slowly, deliberately. "You will get what you deserve." I hit send. Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, curled under a blanket patterned with stars. I brushed her hair from her face and whispered a promise I'd never said out loud before. No more begging for love that should have been ours by right. The next morning would begin differently. By sunrise, I'd made up my mind. No more covering bills for family. No more helping out until things get better. Things never got better, they just got heavier. And every dollar I sent their way bought me one more insult wrapped in politeness. I brewed coffee in silence, the scent filling the small kitchen of the home I paid for. Emma stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. "Are we going back to Grandma's?" I smiled softly. "Not today, honey. We're doing something better." When she was settled with breakfast and her favorite cartoon, I opened my laptop. 4 years I'd managed all the household payments. Dad's utilities, Mom's credit card, even my brother's temporary car loan. My name was on everything. Not anymore. With one click, I canceled the autopay for every account tied to my salary. Then I sent an email to the bank manager. Subject line, "Immediate freeze on shared accounts." Each keystroke felt like taking back a piece of myself. By noon, the manager called. "Miss Turner, just confirming, you're removing access for your parents and your brother from all linked utilities and auto drafts?" "Yes," I said calmly. "Effective immediately." He hesitated. "Understood. I'll notify them when the freeze is complete." The moment I hung up, my heart started pounding, not from fear but release. Years of emotional labor collapsing into a single quiet victory. That evening, I lit a single candle at the table. No decorations, no noise. Emma and I had dinner, just the two of us. As she giggled over mashed potatoes, I realized peace didn't need witnesses. The phone began buzzing again. Mom, Dad, even my brother. I turned it face down and let it ring. Let them find out the hard way what "you'll get what you deserve" really meant. The storm started by noon the next day. First came Mom's voice message. All sugar-coated venom. "Sweetheart, the power company said the payment bounced. Must be some mistake. Fix it before your father gets upset." Then Dad's message followed, all bluster and ego. "You know your responsibilities. We raised you. Don't embarrass the family over a few bills." I almost laughed. Responsibilities? I'd been their financial safety net since college. The invisible provider for a family that never once asked how I was managing as a single mom. By afternoon, my brother called. "What's going on?" "Mom said the heat's off." I didn't hesitate. "Then maybe you should use your degree for something other than blaming me." He went quiet. "Wow. You've changed." "No," I said. "I've healed." That night, I got a text from the bank confirming every freeze was active. The accounts in my name, and only my name, were secure. Still, part of me expected guilt to creep in. It didn't. Instead, there was a strange calm, like the silence after a storm clears. Emma and I spent the evening making cookies. She spilled flour everywhere, her laughter echoing through the kitchen. The sound of a life untainted by shame or control. Later, as she drifted to sleep, I scrolled through old messages. The birthday reminders I'd sent to Mom that went ignored. The Christmas photos she'd never commented on. All those small one-sided efforts to belong. I deleted every thread. When the phone rang again, I didn't even check the screen. I just whispered to myself, let them feel absence for once. Because absence was all they ever gave me. Tomorrow I knew they'd come knocking, and for the first time in my life I was ready to answer. The knock came right on schedule. 3 sharp raps just like always. My father's rhythm, the kind that announced authority before the door even opened. I glanced at Emma, who was coloring on the living room rug, her world still innocent. Stay here, sweetheart, I said softly. When I opened the door, there they stood, Mom, Dad, and my brother, shivering in the December cold but still full of arrogance. Dad didn't waste time. The gas and power are off. What game are you playing, Madison? It's not a game, I said, keeping my tone even. It's called accountability. Mom's lip curled. You've lost your mind. Family takes care of family. I let the silence hang before replying. You're right. But family also doesn't humiliate a child in her own home, or steal from her account. My brother scoffed. We didn't steal. You owe us. For what? I asked. For being born your scapegoat? For paying your bills for 6 years while you lived rent-free. The heat rose in my chest, but I didn't yell. I just stepped aside and pointed toward the driveway. See that car? Paid off last week. My name's on the deed now, and the utilities. Everything. You don't have access anymore. Dad's face reddened. You'll regret this. You can't erase blood. I met his eyes, calm. Blood doesn't give you permission to bleed me dry. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Leave before I call the police, I said quietly. They hesitated, the moment they realized the control was gone. Then without another word they turned and walked to their car. When the door closed I locked it once. Then twice. Emma looked up from her drawing. Are they mad? I smiled faintly. No, baby. They're just learning what boundaries feel like. By morning the phone was a war zone of notifications. 20 missed calls. 8 voicemails. Half from Mom crying, half from Dad demanding. But one message stood out, a bank alert. Someone had tried to log in using my old credentials. I sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee as the sun spilled through the blinds. Predictable. They weren't used to hearing no, so now they were trying to find another way in. I forwarded the alert to my attorney, then called the bank directly. Flag every attempt from that region, I said. If they try again, I want documentation. The manager's voice was firm. Understood, Ms. Turner. Your security settings are ironclad. I hung up, feeling something new, safety. Later that day, Ethan from HR stopped by my office with a small gift bag. Inside was a card Emma had made with the help of his daughter. A thank you for helping her mom get back on her feet last year. You remind her of strength, he said. Funny, I thought how strangers could see what my own parents refused to. That evening, as Emma and I decorated her small pink Christmas tree, I let her choose every ornament. The star leaned sideways, glitter scattered across the floor, but it was the most beautiful tree I'd ever seen. Midway through Silent Night, my phone buzzed again, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Check your parents' street. Power trucks everywhere. I stepped outside, cold wind biting my cheeks. A quick search confirmed it. The utility company had cut service to their entire block for non-payment. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd spent years mocking me for being too emotional. Now I didn't feel anything at all except relief. Tomorrow they'd know what true consequences looked like. By noon the next day, karma arrived faster than I expected. The local utility company posted a notice on their website. Pending disconnections for delinquent accounts in the Turner district. Dad's name sat right there. Bold, undeniable. Within hours, Mom called again, her voice breaking between anger and disbelief. Madison. They shut off our power. It's 30 degrees outside. I stayed quiet, letting her fill the silence with excuses. We had Christmas groceries in the fridge. The kids are freezing. You can't just let this happen. I took a slow breath. You mean the same way you let my daughter be humiliated in front of 12 people while you laughed? She went quiet. Mom, I continued calmly, you told everyone at that table that my child didn't belong. You've spent years taking from me, and I let it happen because I wanted family more than self-respect. But not anymore. Her tone softened. That familiar manipulation disguised as pity. You're overreacting, sweetie. We just need time to sort things out. I almost smiled. You've had 30 years. I ended the call. Emma walked into the room wearing my scarf like a cape. Mom, why are you smiling? Because, I said, kneeling to her level, sometimes peace looks like silence. We spent the afternoon baking sugar cookies, the smell of vanilla and butter filling the apartment. Every notification that buzzed after that went ignored. At sunset, I got a photo from a neighbor back home. Mom and Dad sitting outside their dark house, bundled in blankets, arguing by flashlight. Once that sight would have broken me. Now it felt like the universe finally delivering a lesson I'd begged for my whole life. And the night wasn't over yet. The following morning, the story took a turn. My brother showed up at my office, unannounced, uninvited, and looking like he hadn't slept. Madison, this has gone too far, he snapped, barging into the doorway. Mom's crying nonstop. Dad's threatening to sue the utility company. Just pay the bills so this can end. I looked up from my laptop, calm as a glacier. You mean the bills they took out in my name? He blinked. You always helped before. I also used to let people insult my child, I replied. That version of me is gone. His expression hardened. You think this makes you powerful? You're just petty. I leaned back in my chair. No. I'm precise. He laughed bitterly. You'll regret this when they cut you off for good. They already did, I said quietly. 5 years ago when they stopped seeing me as family and started seeing me as a wallet. His jaw tightened, but I wasn't finished. You want to know why their power's off? Because I stopped paying to keep them comfortable in their cruelty. I stopped letting my daughter believe that money equals respect. For once, he didn't have a comeback. He just stared at me, maybe for the first time seeing me not as his gullible sister, but as someone who'd grown a spine. When he finally left, the office fell silent. I exhaled, staring at the framed photo of Emma on my desk, her gap-toothed smile, her crayon drawing of us holding hands under a crooked sun. That's what mattered. Not guilt. Not their approval. As I drove home that evening, the sky turned gold, reflecting off the snowbanks like a quiet kind of justice. Tomorrow I'd finish what I started. The next morning, I woke up to a notification from my attorney. The property transfer was finalized. The house my parents lived in, the one they'd bragged about owning for decades, had been legally under my name since I paid off their mortgage years ago. And now the title change was complete. Do you want to evict them? My attorney had asked earlier in the week. No, I'd said. Just remove them from the account. Let them see what independence really feels like. So I did. By noon, the utilities were transferred to their direct billing. No safety nets. No shared accounts. No secret payments. The same system they once abused was now their reality. Fair, documented, unchangeable. At 2 p.m. Dad called. His voice wasn't angry this time, it was quiet. You really did it. I really did, I said evenly. But I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it to stop you from hurting us. He exhaled. Your mother's devastated. I know, I whispered. So was I when she laughed while they called my daughter the maid's kid. A long silence followed. Then he said, barely above a whisper, we went too far. That was the first honest thing I'd heard from him in years. I hope you'll fix it, I said, because I'm done cleaning up everyone else's mess. When the call ended, I stood by the window as soft snow began to fall. Emma ran up, pressing her small hand into mine. Can we build a snowman, Mom? Yes, I said smiling. Ours. Just ours. We stepped outside into the clean white quiet, a world that finally felt like it belonged to us. For the first time, I didn't carry my family's weight. I carried only peace.